Hi, I'm Corey from Podfly Academy. Thank you for joining us in this program. I'm really excited to be bringing you this material today to help you get from zero to hero in podcasting in no time flat. Podcasting can be a little bit intimidating at first, but we've broken it down into 10 foundational lessons to understand from the very beginning of what podcasting is all the way to launching your own show. Following the foundational material, we're proud to be bringing you specializations as well that are going to be taught by not only people who have been in podcasting for almost a decade, but radio broadcasting professionals as well. They're going to help us sound our best. So let's jump in and understand first what podcasting actually is. In order to understand podcasting, we first need to take a look at something called RSS. RSS stands for Real Simple Syndication. This is a technology that was implemented by bloggers many years ago. Let's take a look at what the concept actually is and what it does for you and for your audience. Let's take a look at the newspaper model as an example. If there's a particular newspaper I enjoy reading, I need to go to the store and pick it up, take it home, and read it. This is terribly inconvenient, and it also means that I might miss editions of the newspaper if I forget to pick it up while I'm out. Of course, newspapers solved this many years ago with a subscription model, giving someone an opportunity to have that newspaper delivered to their doorstep every single time a new edition was released. Well, this is really the idea between Real Simple Syndication, or RSS. Whenever something new would be posted on a blog, for example, the reader would be notified and it would automatically arrive in their reader. The concept of this syndication and subscription model applies beautifully to audio as well. Every time that you record a new episode of your podcast, people will be notified because they decided to subscribe to your show. Now you can count on every single episode of your show being automatically delivered to your audience because they've chosen to subscribe. This technology makes it tremendously convenient for your audience because every time a new show comes up on their mobile device or on their computer or on their television, they will be notified that this is pending for listen. Many of us remember the old days of broadcast media, where we had to tune in on a particular day at a specific time on a specific station in order to catch our favorite programming. Well, podcasting has completely eliminated this need. With the advent of technology and the ubiquity of high-speed internet, we're really becoming an on-demand culture. We have busy schedules and we want to listen to our content where we want, when we want, and how we want. Podcasting has really enabled us to not only fine-tune how we consume this content, but the type of content as well that we can discover. If I'm really into gardening, I can find 3 or 4 amazing podcasts specific to gardening, and I can listen to them in my car, in my office, on my television, anywhere on any device. Podcasting has really given the listener and the audience the opportunity to fine-tune their media consumption to really feel their needs. This is where we as podcasters are really able to find our audience in a way we never could before. One of the empowering elements of podcasting is that it eliminates the need for a gatekeeper. Broadcast media meant that there were only a select number of channels and a select number of hours that one could broadcast material to the world. These were all held behind gatekeepers who decided whether your content was going to reach a large audience or not. That large audience then would dictate how much revenue the company could bring in, thereby selling advertisements. Well, this is all completely changed. The concept of the long tail is not unfamiliar to most people in podcasting. It means that 80% of the listenership is not necessarily looking for the top 10 shows. It's more a niche market. There are tens of thousands of people seeking what you have to say today. In broadcast media, your message may never be heard. Whereas with podcasting, it empowers you as a content creator to truly reach a specific audience and get your message delivered. You're now able to reach a much more targeted niche audience of people who are looking to hear your expertise, your personality, your credibility, and your experiences. Most importantly, this is really becoming attractive to advertisers who are looking for an opportunity to reach a targeted audience for their products and services. Before we go through this program and look at how to actually create your podcast to deliver to this audience, let's take a look from the audience's perspective in the different ways that they can subscribe to your material and listen to it. One of the easiest ways to discover and subscribe to podcasts today is still iTunes. iTunes is a free application for your computer and synchronizes with all of your devices such as iPhone and iPad. Now let's be clear that podcasts are still not exclusive to Apple products. However, Apple has been featuring podcasts as a big part of their content delivery system. Let's suppose that I'm looking for a podcast from NPR. Browsing the iTunes store and clicking on NPR, I see all of the programs that are available from the radio station. Deciding that I want to listen to Alt Latino, it opens up an individual page for that show, where I can preview each of the podcasts, and if I wish, only download one episode. However, most podcasters decide to subscribe to your program. In subscribing to this podcast, I have told iTunes now to download the latest episode of this show every time it is released. Going into my library, I see the podcast that I have subscribed to. One of the new players in the podcast market is Stitcher. Stitcher is a fantastic competitor to iTunes and a really great way for listeners to discover and listen to new podcasts. Their application for Android is fantastic, and they've recently developed relationships with the Ford Motor Company to have Stitcher Radio available in all new Ford cars. Browsing through Stitcher is a delight. Creating a free account means that you can subscribe to many of these different shows and podcasts and have them in a playlist to listen to later. We're seeing at Podfly that Stitcher is now the #2 way that most podcasts are being distributed, second only to iTunes. Now that we've looked at a couple ways to subscribe to your podcast, it's fair to say that the majority of your listeners are not going to start out by discovering you in a directory. Many people are still going to go to your website and listen to your program directly off that page. I can speak for myself when I say my mother listens to many of my programs, but she still goes to my website and listens to the show, even though she has an iPad or an iPhone and could easily subscribe to my content. The concept of podcasting is still not familiar with the majority of households, even though it's becoming more of a household term. In order to get people to listen to our show, we need to remember providing them the easiest way to access this content is key. We can't go around educating everyone how to subscribe to a podcast, though hopefully they eventually will. And also remember, many people might only want to listen to one edition of your show. Perhaps you had a topic or a guest of interest, and they're not interested in subscribing long term. These end up being a large portion of our podcast downloads and statistics, so we need to look at a couple ways to address that type of listener. Now that we have an overview of podcasting on the whole, we're really excited to be jumping into the next 9 lessons of foundational material to help you get your podcast started. Remember, you can find transcripts, show notes, and more at podflyacademy.com.